Welcome to the Daily Edge podcast. Today we have a very special podcast. We're going to talk about where to invest after COVID. And as my guest, we have Daniel Barris. He's a real estate investment fund manager. We've known each other for a couple of years. And I'm always impressed about his ability to shift in the market, his ability to see the trends and make money for his clients. My name is Raul Villacis, and you're listening to the Daily Edge podcast. Learn the systems and the process that successful businessmen are using to take their lives and their business to the next level. Welcome to the Daily Edge podcast, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
So tell me, the question from every single one of the investors that I know is, what's going to happen to real estate? What do you see in real estate, especially after COVID? Everybody's wondering, where do I invest? What's the light at the end of the tunnel? Are the prices going to drop? Is it commercial? Is it residential? Is it buildings? Is it single family? How can we help the audience listening to this to see the light at the end of the tunnel after COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. I'm getting this question every day now, and we're tracking extensive data, that will constantly tell us, okay, what's happening per asset class in different markets. And really, coronavirus, it shifted a lot for us. As you can imagine, there are sectors, different asset classes such as office or retail or some of those that are really suffering. But the other ones, however, are doing really well. So in terms of coronavirus, just a couple trends that we're seeing. We're a lot of people are moving out of the bigger cities, getting out of those concentrated areas, migrating into, areas like Florida. They're moving away from apartment buildings. They're changing their space, right? So a lot of them are working from home. Significant amount of remote workers now that can work from home, right? So they've got to upgrade their space or move out of their area, So where I am, Florida, it's people can work from anywhere, so they're moving here. So we're tracking the data such as like one-way U-Haul trips and scheduling. So that shows us where these people are migrating from and when they're coming.
Yeah.
So other trends, you have a deficit overall in a lot of some of the commercial sectors and like I said, office is the biggest one. When you look at the volatility of real estate in general, it really comes down to that job growth, right? So you look at different markets where maybe unemployment was average, right? Versus say a market where, it was decent unemployment, like where we're at, there was way too many jobs for the amount of people. So now it kind of balanced out a little bit. So those are some of the trends. We're able to fill some of these jobs now, and every market's a little different. Thankfully, Florida, we opened up pretty early compared to other markets.
Yeah.
And
one of the things that I see, here in the local market is the ability to now work from home and having a trend to have a virtual office. And one of the three rules in real estate is location, location, location. But now that has changed because now location really, people could work from home from any location. So one of the trends that we're seeing, and we were talking off camera before, is the opportunities in the market, the opportunities that lie ahead. And I think that one of the things that we have to start looking at is the behavior of companies, the behavior of consumers, that now some people don't have to live close by where they work. Now the commute is pretty much non-existent because you could jump in a Zoom meeting and you're in the office. You could go into Zoom and now we have a virtual work environment. So how does that affect? I can't jump in a Zoom and be in a beach, Daniel. So you have the advantage in Florida that you actually have the weather as well and the lifestyle. So what are you seeing about the trends of people moving to Florida? Because now we're seeing, you and I were talking about how people are expediting their move because that's the dream. Most people is like, dreams that once you retire, you're going to buy a house on the beach. Once you retire, you're going to move to Florida. What are some of the trends that you're seeing when it comes to people moving into Florida?
Sure. So a lot of people are pushing up their retirement plans. I mean, that's a big part of it. When you, in terms of the people, Florida historically was always retirees, baby boomers coming down. Now, when you look at the numbers, it's more in the 30s and 40s where the migration of those people, and that's basically for the jobs. I mean, Florida's by far the fastest growing state in the nation in terms of net migration. And what we're seeing for those businesses, and again, we're tracking those one-way trips from U-Haul, which, by the way, there's a ton of them coming down. And, with all this coronavirus, we're tracking, okay, what kind of product do they really want to live in? An example of that. So in our fund, we're building, single family rental, build for rent product, right? So we've modified our floor plan a little bit to be able to cater towards that, that office, that extra office space that people want as our tenants. So in terms of businesses, a lot of them have really said, okay, that's it. We're going to go remote permanent. You have these options, right? So office space is clearing out, and you've got a ton of people moving here. Yeah. So it's definitely a big trend.
And the one thing that I see, especially here in the East Coast and the Northeast, is the lifestyle change. People don't want to be in a place where they are bundled up in a room anymore. They want to have this open spaces. They want to have all office buildings that create amenities. And I think, most of us, we were trained with like the mentality of more is best, right? More people crammed in is best. Like the more people that you have in your office, the more productive they become. The more energy you create, the better. But the reality is that it's not just about how many people you could hire, how many people could be in your company. Is what's the lifestyle that you could provide for them. And sometimes what we have to start looking at when it comes to investing in real estate is the location where they have amenities that now, because of coronavirus, are going to be necessary. Like open spaces, social distancing, parks. I mean, that's needed more. And I have investors coming in from New York all the time looking at Connecticut saying, we're moving to Connecticut because we're tired of living in buildings now. I also have investors that own buildings, and they're saying they're looking to adapt because, some people are moving out of the buildings and, they're not renting as fast as they used to. So in Florida, there's always been that conversation about buying multi-units, 300, 400, 500 units versus single family homes or buying, pretty much almost new construction and turn them into multi-units. What's your take on it when it comes to multi-family apartment buildings versus the single family strategy?
Yeah, so we've invested in both. In my space, we've done a lot of single family rentals, and we helped some big major funds assemble that. So we're my other company, we're the company that basically these big funds would call to assemble these massive amounts of volume for that kind of product, whether it's apartments, small apartments, duplexes, single family, et cetera. So when you look at the main, so comparing apartment buildings versus single family, I mean, apartment buildings, a lot of the reason why those people love that area is the amenities, right? So everybody hanging out, concentrated areas. Now people do want their space, so even locally here, there's people that are getting out of those apartments, moving into the single family. And, in terms as an investor, when you look at the risk, the volatility versus the return, single family by far, our numbers are, they're crushing the apartment buildings. And for several reasons, you have with single family, you have a little more exit strategies. And keep in mind, with us investing in single family rentals, the technology to build those same efficiencies compared to a multifamily has come a long ways, right? Yeah. So, that was the main reason why an investor would buy a 300 unit versus say single family of 300 units, because the efficiencies weren't there. It was a little more difficult to manage. Now with technology and obviously with that demand, it's come a long way. So for us, the equity that's built in to the single family is by far, a lot better. And you have a little more exit strategies, right? So a lot of the properties on the single family side, we have tenants that are set up with long-term rentals, they're staying 4 to 5 years because they're buying it at a high retail price. So there's all of these unique things that you can do with the single family that you just, it's a little more difficult with the apartments. It creates, I would also say, add to that, when you look at the single family space versus the apartment space of the institutional investors, right? For the longest time, they wanted the apartments because of those efficiencies and because they could invest in bulk and capture more of that all, in fewer transactions. Well, now, those are some of our exit strategies, right? So we have those institutional buyers. So we'll build 50 homes as an example and sell it off to them, right? So that's only accessible for a 50 pack or more, right? And they're paying really good prices. So even that, they're able to get those efficiencies. And, when you look at articles after COVID, so again, I believed in the SFR single family rental space. Even prior to this, we've been working in that space for a little while, experimenting with the build for rent, which is what we're doing now. But when you look at post-COVID, there has been I've got 10 articles right now, and it's JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, you name it. They're talking about how they believe in the SFR space. They're jumping into that space. They've got proven data of low volatility and high returns. And when you compare, like right now, what you would invest in, right? So if an investor, like I have an investor friend, called me and said, pulled their money out of the stock market, said, hey, I got a pile of cash. What do I do? I'm kind of tired of playing the roller coaster game in the stock market. I did well with it. But I want to diversify a little bit. And he said, well, I like real estate, but where real estate? What kind of real estate? And then we drilled it down. So let's look at the asset classes. Let's look at the risk. Why is single family rentals less risky? Well, when you look at the numbers based on the rental rates, they've dropped less. But also, since the boom back in 2005 and 6, and then the crash afterwards, a lot of the single family rentals were under foreclosure. Well, since the Frank-Dodd Act and a lot of these things that tightened up the lending space, because literally I was going to my barber and he was like, yeah, I just bought 4 houses for $1,000. It's like, it was so messed up. Everybody was getting a loan.
That was the good old days, man. You were in something was gonna give when you're the guy who's cutting your hair, doing your landscape, and doing all these things is trying to give you financial advice or a mortgage or refinance your mortgage. That's when you know that something was going on. And the same thing happened to me. And the difference, I think, between 2008, because we're talking about 2008, and now it's 2020, and now it's a completely different animal because there's 3 things that are different. And a lot of people say, Raul, there's going to be a huge crash in real estate. It's going to be worse than 2008. And I always tell them I think 3 things have changed. Number 1 is technology. In 2008, if you look at it, social media wasn't around as much. So the data was always behind, even though social media was present. And I think YouTube just started in 2008, 2007. Technology has changed dramatically. Second is the behavior of consumer. Like we have now all the millennials that they don't want to buy, they want to rent. So they're going to be really good tenants for landlords. And then the third thing is the financing. In 2008, you couldn't get a loan for 3.0 or 3.5 or even in the fives. In 2008, you were lucky if you got a 6 or a 7%. So all those 3 things, technology, behavior of consumer behavior, and financing is what's going to make this new wave of real estate an opportunity. But it's not about, and the biggest mistake that people make in real estate, I think, that they think it's going to be easy. And they think it's going to be easy. I'm going to watch this video in YouTube, and somebody flipped a house and they made $100,000. Those days, first of all, that you find properties like that and you flip them and you make $100,000 just by flipping the contract. I don't know if you ever done that, Daniel, but back in the days, you used to flip a contract. There was zero effort to do that. You put a house on the market. You see a house on the market. You put a down payment. You lock it in. And you could actually sell it a week or 2 weeks later and flip the contract and make $50,000 or $100,000 because the market was so hot. I don't think that's the case right now. We're not seeing that. So if you want to make money in real estate, you have to put in the work. You have to be willing to get dirty, or you have to be able to look at the analytics and be smart about your investment. And I love what you're saying, that
Yeah.
people are pulling out from the market and asking you, where should I invest in real estate? Because that's the question that we need to start looking at right now. Where are the trends going? Before used to be just invest. My advice to people always used to be just invest in your local market, because you could feel it, you could see it, right? Now it's changed. Now you can invest anywhere in the nation, because now technology is there, as long as you have people around you that you could trust. Because the worst thing to do is, I mean, I have some real estate also in Florida. I have people who invest in Connecticut that are from different parts of the country, but there is a system in place that we could actually track down what's going on with the property. And that's the game changer now in real estate, that technology is really helping investors see and become transparent to the property manager, become transparent to the people who are taking care of the property, become transparent to even your business partners, to actually see what's going on. Before it used to be like, give me your money and I'm going to invest in real estate, and I'll tell you when we make money or not. Now technology is able to create transparency, so you could see the project, you could see what's going on, you could actually see what's happening with your money.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now you're right. And that's a comfort level that people have that's way different. When you look at, just Zillow, right? It's been right around YouTube time, it hasn't been out that long. People just feel more comfortable buying a remote, investing in a remote, or, doing their own analysis, right? There's a lot of tools out there that will help. Now, obviously investing in real estate, you want to make sure you have a good team, right? Or you invest in a fund for people that's already done it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
And that's a key thing. A lot of people ask me for mentorship, and always get hit up in social media. Raul, help me invest in real estate. Help me, become wealthy. Help me make money. I think that's a wrong approach when it comes to finding somebody who is going to help you. I think more is, what's the value you could bring, right? What's the value, especially with mentorship. Now, as an investor, what you're looking for is a track record. Because I tell you, people who have a good track record also have lost in the market. They've learned from the losses, but at the same time, they adapt faster than the guys who are losing. And that's one of the things that I see with Daniel. What he's doing is that he's always adapting to the market. He's always moving into the new trends. And that's what's important for you to see who you trust with your money, who you trust with your ideas. They have to have an ability to adapt, because the market is changing, and the single family market, especially right now, has been one of the hottest markets, because people want to rent. People are looking to buy single family homes. The interest rates are ridiculously low, still ridiculously low. But the one thing that you have to be careful on in the single family is, are you buying properties that are falling apart? Because that's what I see. There's a lot of old properties right now, and people betting on old properties, and then all of a sudden, like, they're falling apart. You need a new roof. You need a new septic system if you're in the East Coast. You need all this, and all those things add up. So if you're buying a real estate property and brand new into the game, just know that invest in really getting yourself educated into knowing what you're buying. Because it from the outside, it may look like a good deal, but once you get into the property and things start breaking, it could cost you a lot of money, and a lot of people don't put that on consideration. Roof, furnaces, all those things. So what are you doing in order to offset those costs?
It's a big mistake I often see. People, they look at a house, or they look at a rental property, and they say, okay, 10% returns, but they forget about all the deferred maintenance. Like you said, all those big items. That's a pretty big deal. And that's why we like the build for rent space. And even in that space, we've made a lot of mistakes there. Wrong floor plans, wrong area, wrong neighborhood, wrong size, wrong way to market it, different types of finishes. We've experimented with that quite a bit. When you look at our fund that's buying this stuff, and we're buying by the hundreds. So we're buying this stuff at replacement value. So what we're buying these things at, it's really, it's way lower than what the existing old stuff is there for sale. So for us, there obviously there's full warranties, protects us. The cost is lower in so many ways, insurance, all these benefits, right? And it just creates more exit strategies, better resale, longer term tenants, all these things. So, I mean, I've done both, and I bet on this space, 100%. And that's, when you look at the difference, I guess, well, if you look at the difference between investing in a fund, right, versus your own property, I guess you got to look, do you like to get dirty? Like if you want to invest in your own property, you want to get dirty, you want to get muddy, and you don't care about the investment, it's more of a hobby to you, well, then go for it, or hey, if you can get 15-16% annual returns like we can for our investors, then go do it. But when you really drill that down, it's if you have the time to do it and you want to get dirty and learn, well, go for it, but it's really just up to you. I mean, what's important for you.
Yeah, and that's what I love about, when you talk about building brand new construction in the single family space, I think that's a genius move, because you're deferring all those maintenance costs 10, 20 years even. Because the reality is that like the average roof will last 10, 15 years. The average, furnace, I mean, I'm talking in Northeast here, it will last, 10, 15 years too. But some people don't take that into consideration. They look at a 10% or 15% return, but a roof leak or something breaks and it starts eating up your profits. But when you have new construction, and where you actually buying, what you're doing is buying these lots at a bulk and getting deals with construction companies and contractors to be able to actually build these units at a discount. It's huge. It's huge because now you have an upside. You're actually buying at a lower price from the market, so you have equity jumping in, and that's where the smart play is. Buying deals when you have building equity already, and there's not a lot of deals out there right now in the open space in the single family market. You can actually do that. I think that's one of the reasons that your strategy of buying new construction, you could actually do that by buying new construction, because you're getting deals from the contractor. You're actually negotiating a lower price from the builder, not necessarily from the market. So how many units are you, like, what's the plan right now in this first project that you have, or the project that you're working on? How many units are you building right now?
So this first, well, we've done quite a bit of projects, but this current project, so we've done thousands of these with different funds, and so my role on kind of the acquisition side was to help assemble these, and we've done, we were the company where investment funds or builders would call us to assemble this stuff, right? Whether land or homes. And with our relationships with builders, we built software for analysis for them. So we add a lot of value on the consulting side. So we give them direction on what to build, where, and then we assemble the land for them. Like we just got an order for 300 lots from a builder. So we're like right at the tip of the faucet, if you will, of that information from the builders. And of course, our relationships run deep that put us as a big resource, to benefit our investors in the fund. So this current fund that we have, we'll have about 100 houses in that one. And that'll be, built pretty much at the same time. And, those efficiencies of scale that we have is kind of that's the minimum number, about that 100.
And here's the beautiful thing about the strategy, talking to Daniel when he started to explain to me, why this is the best move instead of buying 100 units in an apartment complex, is because if something happens with the market, if you buy 100 units in an apartment complex, you can't sell those units one by one. You can't sell, like you have to offload the entire apartment complex in order for you to be liquid. With this strategy, you have 100 units. And if you need the cash, you could actually sell 20 or 10 or 5 in order to see where the market is moving. And that's the genius part about your fund, is you actually have versatility. You actually have a different game plan than just the average person who's just looking to acquire, the average fund that's looking to acquire more units by buying these big apartment complexes.
Yeah. And the, when you look at the space of asset classes too, and we're paying very close attention to this. The apartment space and the commercial space, there's just more debt, right? Because the lending is still the Wild West on that, right? There's not as much regulation. So again, with all the foreclosures and issues back when our barber was buying 4 or 5 units, since then they've really, they've really buckled down on the regulation. So that said, when you look at the single family rentals, there's by far a lot less debt, right? So it's not going to be upside down as much like it was, right? And there's a lot of exit strategies. Like you said earlier, the trend is more renters than owners. I mean, and due to the COVID, that's just going to, stack up even more. And then due to the more migration that we're expecting, that we're seeing, in our area. And we focused more on those emerging markets. You look at Florida, you've got the Miamis, the Orlandos, the Tampas. We're more on the emerging markets where it's not built out, right? Where it's not sort of capped out or bloated, you might say, like a Miami. And that's where the top net migration counties are in the entire U.S.
Wow. So listen, at the end of the day, you have to anticipate that there's going to be a great opportunity here, especially as the interest rates will eventually, they have to rise. I mean, the economic situation that we're in right now is not sustainable. They're going to have to rise. And even when they rise, you're going to see a lot less buyers in the market, a lot more renters. So if you're in the real estate game right now, start looking at your portfolio, diversify your portfolio, start looking at locations where people are going. It's not just about buying in your local market, because that's what we know. We have to expand our mind and make a decision to actually follow the trends, because the moment that you're just stuck in your own city, you're stuck in your own market, you have a limited amount of opportunities. Like at this moment, we're looking at multiple opportunities to be able to create wealth. And if you're in the market right now looking to see where real estate is going, just pay close attention to the trends. Where are people moving to? What are people doing? Especially big companies who now have a little taste of this virtual workspace. You're gonna start seeing a lot more companies deciding to let's go virtual, and office space is gonna get hit huge. Big multi units are gonna get hit huge because people don't want to be in closed space. The single family market, if the interest rates go up, they're also going to get hit by the buyers. But the one place where you count on is the rental space. Unless people are going to be sleeping in the streets, there's always going to be a market for rental. And that's one of the things that in my portfolio as well, like we have rental properties, the rental prices have always gone up. Nobody's ever asked me. They haven't gone down to dramatic prices like the value of the property. So if you have a property, if you're wondering, should I invest in real estate and is it going to go up? Don't buy real estate expecting the prices to go up. Buy real estate looking to make sure that you're cash flowing every single time. And that's where the rental market is important, because every single one of my rental properties, they've always been consistent on the rental. Like my rental properties have always been has been rented. The value maybe went down, but the rental was always there. And that's one of the stats that we're seeing right now, is that the prices for rent are always increasing. When the market crashes, when the market is down, rental properties actually do the opposite. Rental properties go up. The rental income goes up. So you have to start looking at some of those trends. Daniel, I know that your time is valuable. How can they get a hold of you to get more information? Because I know you have a lot more information. You have slides and you have a whole deck for people to actually learn from this. And if you're interested in knowing more about where the trends are going, get in touch with Daniel. Daniel, could you be open to send my audience like the presentation that you went through with me, where the trends are going to? Can you send that to me?
Sure. Yeah. I've got a couple slides I can send. To your point on the rental rate side, I've got one that's really good. It shows the single family rentals in terms of how it dropped off, and in a graph comparing bonds and stocks. So it's a big one. And basically it's got the lowest volatility with the highest returns overall of any asset class. And that's why those same articles and those kind of graphs that have come out by, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Blackstone, all those, they've proven that model and they have that data to back it up. So I'd be happy to share some of that stuff. Obviously in our deck, we have other proprietary stuff. something you said to your point in terms of tracking trends. If you are in your own real estate market and you're paying attention to, what's happening out there, look beyond just the price, right? You go on and say, oh, here's a comp for this at, 300,000. I can buy this for 250. You really got to look beyond that, right? So it's for us. I layer like demographics, right? So migration, who's living here, what are they, who are they, right? But then the psychographics, which is the technology that has come a long ways. For me as an asset manager, fund manager, I can really drill down, like, who are these people? Why are they buyers? Why are they tenants? What are their habits? What are their values? And it's really extensive that, the access that we get to be able to make these kind of decisions. We've got a lot of material that I can show you and just give you a bird's eye view of, how we make our decisions, and some graphs that I'd be happy to send over.
Awesome. So here's what I'm going to do, because I know this content, we took 4 hours about this, and I want to respect the audience, because my content is always more motivational, more mindset, and how to get shit done. I want my audience to understand that, part of getting shit done is being smart with your money. Part of getting shit done is being able to expand your business and create wealth and create leverage. So it's not just about having a mindset of being unstoppable. It's also being able to allocate your assets in a way that they're going to start making you money. So if you like this conversation and want to continue talking about real estate and investments, whether you listen to me on iTunes, Spotify, whether you're watching this through YouTube, comment below questions on real estate, questions on investment, and we're going to answer those questions. And maybe, Daniel, if you open, we'll have you back into the show. We'll have you back, and we could answer some of those questions, and we'll maybe even make into a series, because I know it's a conversation that needs to have a little longer period of time for us to really get deep on it. But at the same time, I also want to give out your information so they could contact you if they have any questions about some of the trends. Why don't you give them your email address from
here? So the best email is Daniel, that's DANIEL, at Baxon Capital. That's BAXON capital.com.
I'm going to put all that information here in the comments or anywhere. I have my team put it also on the screen. Sure. So just give us some questions. We're here to answer your questions. Next time I'll have you back, and maybe next month, Daniel, and we'll have some slides in there, because I know there's going to be so many opportunities. And right now, if you listen to this, it's time for you to start getting your mindset right in order for you to make decisions when the opportunities arises. Because the COVID thing is not over yet. I mean, I've already seen some of the trends that in some states, COVID is actually spiking. I was lucky that I got COVID early on this last couple of months, and I have the tiger blood now. I have the immunity, and then my son was tested today, and he has immunity. My wife has immunity, and now my daughter was tested. We're gonna see if she has it or not. But this is not gonna be over. We're gonna start seeing another wave. They said that September is gonna be another wave of COVID. So that always brings opportunities of where can we invest. What are we seeing? What are some of the trends? I know real estate is a moving target. So if you're in the real estate game, just know that right now we have to follow the trends. We have to look at the trends a lot closer than before, because it's not about putting things on the wall hoping it sticks. Now it's about being smart, because the decision you make today is going to pay out in the next decade. Whether you lose or win, we're going to see the big picture in the next 10 years, because we're going to look back at this moment and going to realize that the game changed. And right now we have to be around game changers if we want to be able to take advantage of the opportunity. So thank you, Daniel. Appreciate you coming to the Daily Hits podcast. Until next time, learn it, live it, experience it. Love life. If you like this podcast, send me a text from a community platform at 203-405-9199 for exclusive content and direct access to me, so I can take your life to the next level. That's 203-405-9199. Send me a text now.